You ever meet someone you just can't forget? Not because they were kind or cruel, but because they changed the way the wind sounded when it passed your ears. My name's Hank Mercer. Used to be a deputy out by Red Hollow, a quiet speck of a town halfway between nowhere and the edge of hell. That was 30 years ago. I don't carry a badge no more, don't need one where I'm going. But I got a story that's been rattling in my chest like a ghost chain. It starts on a night the stars refused to shine, and a woman rode in from the desert. She came in at sundown, dust hanging on her like perfume. Rode a chestnut mare with a limp, saddle cracked, but polished where it mattered. Every man on Main Street stopped what he was doing, even the preacher. She wore a black hat low, a leather coat that had seen gunpowder and rain both, and eyes. Eyes like the storm clouds that roll over the mesa before the rain. Didn't say a word, just rode up to the saloon, tied her horse, and walked inside. The piano stopped. The whiskey glasses froze mid-air. When she spoke, her voice had the kind of softness that could cut through granite. I'm looking for a man named Eli Granger. I remember that name hitting me like a hammer. Eli Granger, outlaw, thief, and killer of my brother. But he'd been dead near 10 years, or so I thought. Red Hollow didn't get many strangers. A woman riding in alone. That was cause for talk. By nightfall, half the town had theories. Some said she was bounty. Others said she was trouble. I didn't know which one I hoped for. She rented a room at Miss Clara's boarding house. Paid in silver dollars older than the railroad. Didn't talk much. Didn't smile ever. But I couldn't stay away. Something about her. The way she moved. The way she looked out the window like she was watching for ghosts. It kept pulling me back. I asked her once, "Why are you looking for Eli Granger?" She didn't answer. Just turned those storm eyes on me and said, "You ever loved someone that you couldn't forgive?" Didn't sleep much that night. 3 days later, we buried old Sheriff Cole. Man had a heart that gave out faster than his whiskey did. With him gone, I was next in line to wear the star. Red Hollow needed a lawman, but truth is, I wasn't sure if I was built for it. Law's a hard thing when you start seeing it through the cracks in your own hands. The woman, her name was May Callahan, started asking questions around town. Everywhere she went, she left whispers behind her. Then, one night, she came to me. Knocked on my door past midnight. Told me Eli Granger wasn't dead. Told me he'd been living under another name, Elias Ward, rancher up by Devil's Bluff. My blood ran cold, because I'd eaten dinner with Elias Ward a month ago. The next morning we rode out together, me and May, through canyon ridges, red as rust, the kind of land that swallows secrets whole. She rode quiet, but I could tell she was fighting something inside. You can hear guilt in the rhythm of a horse's hooves if you listen close enough. We reached Ward's ranch by sundown. Smoke from the chimney curled soft, peaceful. Didn't look like a killer's home, but killers have a way of hiding peace inside hell. We tied our horses and walked toward the porch. Before I could knock, the door creaked open, and there he was. Older, slower, but unmistakable. Eli Granger, the man who shot my brother, and the man May once called husband. He froze when he saw her. Didn't reach for his gun, didn't move a muscle, just stared like he was looking at a ghost. "You shouldn't have come," he said. May's hand went to her coat. I came for answers. They stared at each other, words caught between old love and old hate. The silence was heavy enough to break a heart. Eli finally spoke. "You still wear that ring?" She didn't answer, just took off her glove and showed him the scar where the ring used to be. That's when the lightning struck outside. and the past came roaring back like thunder. We sat inside that house for hours. Rain fell hard on the tin roof. Eli poured whiskey, but no one drank. He told us what really happened. How he'd gone to rob a payroll train 15 years back. How my brother, the deputy, had shown up early. How the bullet that killed him wasn't meant for him. May's eyes filled with tears, and for the first time, I saw the woman under the armor. Eli said he ran, changed his name, and built a life, trying to make up for what he'd done. But some ghosts don't forgive, and some women don't forget. We left before dawn. The rain had turned to fog, and the world felt washed clean. May didn't speak, just rode ahead, faster than the light could follow. By the time I caught up, we were at the river bend near Ghost Creek. She was sitting there, gun on her lap, tears on her cheeks. I came to kill him, she said. But now I don't know if I can live with it if I do. I told her the truth. That forgiveness ain't a gift you give someone else. It's the only way you keep from drowning yourself. She dropped the gun in the river, watched it sink. Then she rode off, back toward Red Hollow. I never saw her again. Weeks later, I got a letter. No name on the front, just a single pressed flower inside, and a note that said, "Some roads lead us home, some lead us to peace." I found mine. M. I still keep that letter folded in my coat pocket. The paper's worn thin, the ink faded. But every time the wind picks up, I swear I can smell her perfume. Dust, leather, and lilac. Red Hollow's gone now. Swallowed by time, same as all of us. But when I ride out past the mesas at dusk, and the sky burns red like blood and love mixed together, I remember her. The woman from Red Hollow. The only outlaw I ever loved. And the only soul who ever taught me that justice and forgiveness sometimes wear the same face. The week after May rode off was the quietest I'd ever known. The town went about its chores, same as always. Horses fed, wagons creaking, wind moaning through the shutters. But it all felt hollow somehow, like the soul had gone out of Red Hollow. I sat in the sheriff's office most days, star on the desk instead of my chest. Couldn't bring myself to wear it. Every time I reached for my coffee, I half expected her to walk through the door. Boots dusty, hat tilted low, eyes telling stories she never would. But she didn't. And the world don't stop for ghosts, even the ones that still breathe. Then one night, a rider came in from Devil's Bluff. Pale as bone, horse near dead. Said there'd been trouble at the Ward Ranch. Said the outlaw wasn't done paying for his sins. When I got there, the place was burning. Smoke blacker than midnight, flames licking at the stars. Found 2 bodies out front, men I didn't recognize, but neither was Eli Granger. I ran through the blaze till my lungs were fire themselves. Found him behind the corral, half dead, shot twice. He looked at me and smiled that crooked smile of his. "She came back," he said. Then he coughed blood, looked past me like he was seeing the past. "She came back, but not for me." He died before I could ask what that meant. And I remember thinking, for a man who'd lied his whole life, that last sentence felt awful true. 2 days later, I met him. Tall fella, dressed in black from hat to boots, said his name was Dane Cutter. Claimed to be a bounty man trailing May Callahan for the last 2 years. "Woman's got blood on her hands," he said, leaning on the saloon bar. "Killed a marshal down in Texas, a banker up north, and near put a bullet in a preacher for calling her ma'am." I didn't believe half of it. But when he pulled out a wanted poster with her face on it, that was truth enough. $5,000 dead or alive. Something twisted in my gut. I told him to leave town, Told him Red Hollow don't deal in blood money. He just grinned. Then maybe you ain't as retired as you think, Deputy Mercer. That night I couldn't sleep. The desert wind was restless, carrying the sound of hooves that weren't really there. I saddled up and rode east, toward the river, toward the kind of silence that don't need answers. Found her tracks at first light. Small prints, clean and light. She always rode careful, like she didn't want to wake the earth beneath her. Tracked her for 2 days. On the third, I found her camp. She was sitting by the fire, same as before. Same black coat, same faraway eyes. You came looking for me, she said, not even turning around. I heard there's a bounty on your head. Then you came to collect. No, ma'am, I said. I came to warn you. She stared at the fire for a long while, then spoke quiet. The banker they said I killed wasn't innocent. Turned out he'd been working with Eli, laundering gold from stolen payrolls. When Eli disappeared, the banker tried to hang her for his sins. She escaped, left a trail of men who thought they owned her. Or owed her. I didn't kill the preacher either, she said, but I wanted to. That one made me smile, though I tried not to. Truth is, sometimes sin and justice walk so close together, you can't tell their boots apart. We didn't see him coming. 1 minute it was quiet. Just the sound of firewood popping. Next minute, bullets tore through the air like thunder from hell. Cutter and 2 more men, riding down from the ridge. We dove for cover, guns drawn before we thought. May hit one clean, shot him square off his horse. I got the second through the leg, but Cutter was meaner, faster, colder. He hit me in the shoulder, pain white as lightning. But before he could finish the job, May stood up from behind the fire, hat gone, hair in the wind, eyes full of storm. You don't touch him, she said. And she shot him. Twice. The rain came down, sudden, heavy, like the sky had been holding its breath for days. Cutter lay there, eyes open, blood mixing with mud. May dropped the gun, hands shaking. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, I said, pulling her close. Sometimes the world don't leave us choices worth living with. We buried him at dawn. No words, no prayers. Just the sound of the rain hitting the dirt. Back in Red Hollow, the bounty posters started disappearing. Someone up the chain had decided Cutter's death closed the file. But May, she wasn't done running. She left me a letter that night. Told me she was heading west. To California, maybe farther. Said she didn't want me following, that a man like me deserved peace. But she ended the letter the same way she ended every goodbye. If you ever see the sunset over Red Hollow again, think of me. Time's a cruel horse. It don't stop, don't turn, just rides till you fall off. 5 years passed. Red Hollow grew smaller in memory, bigger in ache. I heard stories sometimes about a woman riding with a band of traders out west, helping strangers, never staying long. Some said she died in a border town gunfight. Some said she married a rancher and lived quiet. I never believed either one, because some souls are too wild to rest and too kind to kill. It was late autumn when I saw her again. Wasn't sure at first. She looked older, thinner, but those eyes. Still the same storm. She came riding into Red Hollow, like she had the first time. Alone, dust trail behind her, hat low. Tied her horse, walked right into the saloon, and there I was, sitting at the same table as 30 years before. You still drink the cheap whiskey, she said. And you still ride like the wind owes you money, I said. She smiled, just barely, and for a second I forgot all the years between. The saloon piano played soft. Old tune, half broken, same one from the night she first came to town. She held out her hand. Just one dance, Hank Mercer, for old time's sake. I took it. Her hand was warm, trembling a little. We danced slow, no music, but the wind and the ghosts. When the song ended, she looked up at me, eyes glistening. I never found peace, she said. Maybe peace ain't something you find, I told her. Maybe it's something you give. She nodded once, then left before sunrise. A month later, a trader passed through town. Said he'd found a woman's body near Ghost Creek. Gun by her side. No wounds, just gone. I rode out there myself. Found her horse, found her hat, found a locket buried in the sand. Inside was a picture of Eli Granger and me. I buried her by the river, under the same tree where she threw away her gun. Carved 3 words on the wooden cross. Loved, lost, forgiven. Some nights when the fire burns low and the desert starts singing, I tell this story to whoever's willing to listen. And when the wind shifts just right, I swear I hear her voice in it. Soft, steady, unbroken. They called her outlaw. They called her sinner. But to me, she was just the woman from Red Hollow. The fire crackled low, orange light licking the edges of the dark. I took a long pull from my tin cup, felt the whiskey burn down to where the ache still lived. Across the flames, young Jake Turner sat wide-eyed, boots muddy, hair a mess from riding through the canyon. He'd come asking about May Callahan. Said his pa used to tell stories about her when the nights ran long and the coyotes got bold. Sheriff, he said, you really knew her? The outlaw woman who burned the banker's house and killed 3 men with 1 bullet? I couldn't help but chuckle. Son, that's what happens when stories get passed around too long. They start wearing new boots. He leaned closer, firelight dancing on his face. Then what's the real story? I looked at the stars. Same ones that had watched us all those years back, and sighed. The real story, I said, ain't about who shot who. It's about who kept riding when they could have stopped. I told him how May first came into Red Hollow. Not with guns, not with vengeance, but with a letter. Said she was looking for someone who owed her more than money. That someone turned out to be Eli Granger, my old deputy, and her old mistake. Love, I told Jake, is a fine thing when it don't cost nothing. But out here in the West, it always costs something. A life, a lie, a bullet. The boy listened close, eyes wide, the way only the young and unbroken can listen. I could see a bit of myself in him, and a bit of May, too. That stubborn spark that won't die, even when the world says it oughta. There was something I never told nobody. Years after she left, after I buried her by the river, I found a second letter in my saddlebag. Must have slipped between the lining, hid there all those years. The paper was thin, edges yellowed, ink faded but steady. It said, if you find this, it means I couldn't tell you what I wanted to. I never meant to hurt no one. Not Eli, not you. But some roads don't lead back home. Some just fade into the dust. I reckon I'll ride till I see something worth stopping for, or till I don't wake up at all. Either way, don't come after me. You're the only good thing I ever left behind. I read that letter about 100 times before I could breathe again. Then I folded it up, tied it with a piece of her locket string, and threw it into the fire. Watched it burn slow, like memory itself. You live long enough, you start seeing ghosts even in daylight. Sometimes I'd walk past the saloon and swear I'd hear her laugh through the piano tune. Other times I'd smell her perfume, that desert rose scent mixed with smoke and saddle dust. Red Hollow never forgot her. Not really. The preacher still cursed her name on Sundays, while the women whispered about her on the porch. But every once in a while, a stranger'd ride through and ask where she was buried, and I'd just nod toward the river. They'd ride off quiet, like pilgrims looking for a saint that never was. Jake shifted in his seat, hat in his hands. "So," he said, "you loved her, didn't you?" I didn't answer at first, just poked the fire with a stick and watched the sparks drift up. "Love's a funny word, son," I said finally. "It's got too many shapes. With her, it wasn't the kind you put in words. It was the kind that makes you stop running, even when the world's still chasing you." He nodded slow. "Did she ever find peace?" I looked out toward the dark horizon. "Maybe," I said, "but if she did, she sure didn't keep it for herself." Before dawn, I took Jake to the river. The same river that took her last breath. The same tree I'd buried her under. The cross was still there, half rotted, letters almost gone. I knelt down, brushed the dirt off the name. Loved. Lost. Forgiven. The boy stood silent. Even the river had gone still for a moment, like it was listening. "Someday," I said, "you'll have your own story to tell. When you do, make sure it's one you can live with, not just one that sounds good by the fire." As we rode back, the first light hit the town. The saloon's windows caught the sun, turning the dust to gold. The church bell rang, hollow but steady, and for the first time in years, I felt lighter, like I'd finally laid down the last of her memory where it belonged, in the past. Jake looked over. "Will you ever tell anyone else her story?" "Son," I said, grinning just a little, "you just heard it. Now it's yours." Back at camp, the fire had gone to embers. The night was quiet again, only the coyotes singing out in the far dark. Jake had fallen asleep, hat pulled low, dreams no doubt full of gun smoke and wild horses. I sat there a while longer, letting the cold creep in. Then I whispered to the dark, "Rest easy, May. You finally made it home." The wind shifted, soft, warm, just enough to make the ashes glow one last time. And I swear I heard her laugh,